Alright, and welcome back, guys, to Dungeons of Chaos playthrough. We're going to take a bit of a break of actual playthrough, and we're going to go ahead and roll our own team into a new game. Now, we're in Chapter 2, starting out with our default team. So we're just going to go ahead and grab a new slot here and do Create. Now, we get to roll for our characters. You go ahead and click the roll button. It's going to randomize health, SP, strength, and dex. And then it's going to give us some birth features that help us augment our classes here. Now, there are some minimal requirements with strength and dexterity, SP, and HP to determine which class we actually get to roll. Now, with going through the default team, we haven't seen the Barbarian, Archer, or the Monk. So let's go ahead and let's roll one of those. Let's go for the Barbarian first. Traditionally, they're going to be high strength, high hit points, very tankish. And see here we got a 117 in hit points, 16 in strength, 10 in dex. Now, the highest that I've ever seen for hit points is that it'd be in the 120s. The highest I've seen in SP before was in the 50s. Strength, that's anywhere between 8 and 18, 18 being the highest. And then same way with dex, between 8 and 18. Now, a Barbarian, starting out with, he has a rotational bonus of getting strength. So his strength is going to go up pretty high, so we'll have to sink some points into dex. So let's roll, see if we can't get a little bit higher dex and keep strength relatively high. That way we don't have to saturate enough points into that. As you roll through, it is kind of randomized. Our birth feats change. I'll talk about some of those here. Now the anti-node, high magic resistance, basically it's going to take away from any of the SP. Somebody's just anti-magic. It's good for fighters, barbarians, rangers, somebody who's not going to be dealing with magic. Battle hardy gives a +2 battle or weapon proficiencies. Nice for like a fighter going to a warrior, or a ranger even going into a warrior, because they get more weapon proficiencies, they get higher TP rotational bonuses. Orc ancestry, strength, HP, higher resistance. Again, not to be a caster, and they get a little bit bonus to skills. Of course, body control, they're better resistance against sleep and paralysis. We don't necessarily see a lot of these in the first chapter, but it does come into the second chapter. We're still trying to roll here. Intellect, this is a good one for any spellcaster. It comes up quite a bit. It gets you more SP, higher proficiency in your perception and identify skills, so you can see hidden treasures and you can identify items immediately for use. Toughness, this one's always good. Gives you higher resist for fire and cold and electric. Stick that on a druid or a barbarian, and with their augmented resistances, everything, they kind of become semi-immune to some of the resistance. Now, noble origin, gold plus in the gear. This is for starting gear gold only. It doesn't have any increase over time. And then menace, you got a rage skill. That's good for a fighter or a barbarian. I do not think a ranger can take that. Yeah, or an archer, which would be interesting. Have a very fast archer with rage on. And let's see here, dwarven ancestry. Of course, they're going to be small, stout guys, so you've got a high strength, high HP, higher resistance, very hardy, slower, and not very adept at magic. And protege, plus skills, plus spells, good for spellcasters, also good for clerics or monks, even rogues for their plus to skill. Physique, strength, dex, and hit points. Of course, that's going to be good for anybody that's going to be in front lines dealing damage. You just want to push that strength and dex a little bit higher. That's good. It's a good go-to. Inheritance. Default group, we've had inheritance on all of them, so they got one piece of special armor. A few of them had a necklace or so. It just gives them a bit of a boost going into it. We're still looking for a decent barbarian roll. See, this is what I would like for a barbarian. If we roll a barbarian, you're going to have a mediocre dex, relatively high strength, and good amount of hit points. And of course, you can stick them in anti-noid and be resistant to magic or resistance to sleep and paralysis. But I think the best we're going to do here is the dwarven ancestry. So to give strength and HP, that'll reduce our speed a little bit. We're not going to have an issue with SP because barbarians don't cast anything. Have some starting gear and some gold and increase in our skills. So I think that's going to be a pretty good roll. And if you want to keep going and do something like that, what I also like is a swiftness gives the barbarians an increased speed, because they kind of suffer on the dexterity portion of it. But I think this will be good for our barbarian. Now, Alima, yeah, we can stay with that name. Let's change the image though. I can't really tell with the barbarian whether they're male or female. They all kind of have the same face. The only thing that changes is like the gear that they're holding. Let's go ahead and change that. Actually, let's see what they randomly come up with. Veteran. Eisenma. Soderman. Interesting. Mazar. I don't know how to pronounce that. Dakamon. That sounds like a... kind of sounds like a Pokemon, but it sounds like a good barbarian name. And let's go ahead and stick them with that big helmet and big hammer. Go ahead and click Add to Party, and it shows. And then you can move these guys any way you want. And once the formation's set, it's kind of going to be locked in. You can't move them around. Alright. And let's go ahead and let's roll our Archer. Now, Archers get a good rotational bonus to Dex, actually quite a few times. So we're not too concerned with Dex, but starting out with, some bows and crossbows have a really high strength. So we're going to try to roll something with a decent strength, like say a 15. There's also a hit point requirement for archers too that we'll have to get around. But Dex also has to be relatively high. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 10 or 12. It has to be above that. Now see, here's one that's good there. And if we actually took that, we could do physique. Add a little bit of strength. We would have to still put a little bit of talent points into it, but let's try for something a little bit better. I would like to have a 15 on that strength. If we can find that. 17, a 10. That's getting into fighter barbarian range there. Oh, here's another one, Orcish Ancestry. Again, it's going to have very little magic. High resistance go. That's another nice one for non-caster classes. Elven Ancestry. This is kind of geared towards rangers, archers, rogues. High dex, increased speed, increased evade. Does have a bonus to spell points, SP, but that's not that big of a deal. And of course, look who is all eligible for it. If we go ahead and click on them. Any of our caster types. And of course, this is going to take a little bit from their hit points, but we're not rolling for them. We're rolling for an archer. So there's an 18 strength we went ahead and passed up. This is relatively low, but it gives us our archer. We're not wanting that. So archers are kind of a little bit elusive when you're rolling. Their stats are finicky. So again, if we can get a decent strength and decent dex, we'll take it. Even if I see like a 14-14 on strength and dex and allows us for an archer, I'll take that. Let's see here, we have a 15-13. High amount of hit points, so let's go ahead and take that. And we get our elven ancestry, but we also have physique. Now this is going to give us a point into strength and a point into dex, so we're a little bit higher in that. But we'll also have this evade and speed increase. But with the natural dex increase with the archer, those two are that come with it. But I really like the physique here because we're wanting that strength, so we can start equipping bows and crossbows that have a 16 strength, so we can start getting into higher damage. So let's go ahead and take him. Whitfar, that's actually a decent name. Let's keep that. Let's change his image though. Make him like the Green Arrow, like a traditional DC Green Arrow. Blonde-haired mullet, full beard, mustache. All he needs is a little cap. Let's go ahead and add him to the party. Let's roll our next one. Alright, now next one is going to be Monk. We want a relatively decent strength, because he gets a dex bonus with that also. But going outside, monks can either spec into a priest or he can spec into a samurai. And I would say let's go samurai with him, so we want to get as much stats as possible that we can get. That will actually roll. And now I believe he's got a SP requirement too, that'll pop that up. And of course here's another one that we haven't seen yet. Birth Feet of Immunity, resist poison, plus, gives a decent amount. Starting out, if you're going to farm some ants or spiders on the first island, that's a good go-to one. Let's see if we can't get our monk unlocked here. Now these are all kind of low ball, mediocre stats, but it unlocks the monk. But we're not going to take him. Here's a decent one. Over 100 in the HP. Should be able to cast heal at least once or twice in a battle with that SP. Strength is decent. Dex is low, but again, monks get a rotational bonus to Dex. And of course, if we take him, because he's the only one that is unlocked with that, I'm going to go with the Elven Ancestry. This is kind of what's in his wheelhouse. Dex, speed, evade, SPs that'll give him a little bit more of that healing support if we need it. And of course a little minus on HP, of course, but he's still have close to 100 anyways. So let's go ahead and roll our monk that way. Dritz. Let's go ahead and change the image. This is kind of my favorite image of a monk. Very sleek. Well, these are kind of traditional monkish. And these guys just look more like Catholic priests. But that's another thing. They're friars. Oh well. Let's go ahead and randomize the name. Lynn. Zafar. Darpik. No. Sulfur. Darman. Bane's a good monk name. Let's go ahead and add that one on. Now, since we have those three in, to go ahead and we're going to roll a cleric and a mage and a druid. They're just kind of a good party base starting one. And one thing I'm going to try to roll is I don't care what the stats and hit points are, but an SP higher than 50. Well, I'd say higher than 50, and we get a 50 right off the bat for a mage. And you can only take the Elven Ancestry, which gives us a little bit of SP. But I want a different birth feat here. I want to actually try to get him the carry birth feat, so we can start out with Ignite and just kind of melt people's faces. And here's another one. This is another really good one. Intellect for a mage would be good too. 53. Now, this gives us a righteousness. It gives us a bonus to undead for attack. It gives us the exorcism skill unlocked immediately for a cleric or monk, which is good, but we don't want to go that route. Again, we're still looking for that nice carry birth feat if we can find it. Nerd's a nice one. Identify skill boost is really high. Limited strength, limited evade. Alright, so let's keep going here. Let's see if we can't find a good one. Troll Ancestry. This is another really good one for a Barbarian or a fighter, because it gives us huge bonus to strength. It gives you a nice hit point regen, but you're just let it be a slow, bumbling buffoon out there. So you'll have to sink points in the decks or spec him out on equipment-wise. That is still good, pretty good. Or you go Node Master for a caster. SP regen before the bonus to SP on items actually got nerfed. You would be able to take Node Master and then stack, a couple hundred additional SP points with those percentage increases, have a SP pool of around 25 to 30,000, and just be able to spam Meteor until the cows come home. And the regeneration would be so huge that it really would not budge what you were doing. Now you can't do that so much, which is a good balance. You don't want to have a mage that has unlimited power. Still trying to find our nice little carry feat here. Sure-handed would be another really good one if we're rolling a rogue, even an archer with that high critical rate, especially a rogue since they already get that bonus. That's something to keep in mind. Alright, I think this is going to be a good one for our druid, because he's going to have mediocre hit points, but I want this high intellect SP, so let's go ahead and roll our druid now. I always like that druid. Yeah. La BBBB. Some of these random names are pretty hilarious. Grimy. Vakon Jalil. I like Jalil. I think we passed that up once or twice already. Alright, still looking for something for our mage. Let's see if we can't get like the SP in the 50s, and then we'll just take one of these. This would be good. We got a good choice here. We can either take Elven Ancestry, makes him a little bit more nimble, or we can take Intellect again. For expedience sake, let's go ahead and take Intellect and do that. Actually, I kind of want, still kind of want that carry feat, and I still kind of want the Node Master, which this doesn't give us a Node Master, but this would be a low mana pool for our Cleric, would give us a Node Master. Not willing to do that. Right. This one also gives a plus to spells and skills. That's a pretty good one to take, but not quite. Still a little hesitant on that one. Still looking for that particular bird feat. 57. I think that's going to be the highest, but if you look at this, everything else is so mediocre. So squishy. And if you did that with a mage, that would definitely be a glass cannon style mage. But we're not going to do that. It's not very good birth feats. Still trying to find that Now, you guys are probably watching a little bit better than I am. I probably already passed it. But really want that carry feat here. SP and it SP of 2 and it rolls a Node Master. Boo. Boo on randomization. Alright, so we're still needing that one birth feat. You notice if you're really interested in finding a particular birth feat or a high rated stat, it's a little bit hard to find, especially when you're trying to do it. Nope, none of those. There it is. But we don't have a mage. It locked us out of a mage. We find it, we don't get it. That's what I was wanting. So we'll, I'll tell you what, we'll just kind of skip over that then. Let's get something with another decently high SP rating and then a decent birth feat while we're rolling at it. Alright, there we go. Mage. Let's go ahead and Protege because that's the only one that's available. Decent starting SP. We're going to have a little bit addition to spells. And a little bit addition to skills, which will be okay. Jesco, Dak. With Dak. Nice, simple. Purple, green, blue. I think we already got a blue. Yeah. Let's go with the, I think the female green. Dak. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and roll a Cleric real quick. Again, Clerics, I want a decent SP. Personally, would like something with a little bit higher SP. Here we go. Cleric gives us the Node Master. This way our Cleric can devote themselves to just healing and spamming. We don't want heals to drop off because, again, you guys have witnessed, once our Clerics run out of SP and they stop healing, things go downhill really quick. So let's just go ahead and run with the 53 and the Node Master on our Cleric. That'll reduce our speed, but that'll reduce our evade a little bit, but we start putting a little attention to our dex and get that up. That should be negated. I always like running Clerics as a female. It's just a personal preference. Find a good random female named Sup. Seltrick. No. Denfar. Famides. Updar. Budak. Enrico. Tully? I'll take it. Alright. So, we have our big meat shield up front, Dat Common, usually to be our Barbarian. Whitfar, our archer in the back. Bane, we're going to have him running up front. If you guys didn't know, if you click on these, you can see what their stats and their birth feat is. You could also delete them and re-roll them if you would so choose to. Jaleel is going to be our intellect druid. Dak is going to be our mage. And then Tully is going to be our Node Master Cleric, who's just going to be throwing heals as much as possible. Now, I'm going to go ahead and rearrange this a little bit from my plan. Alright. What I always like having is the squishies down below. Oh, move them up. That way. So we have big meat shields on top. Backup melee. We got our ranger, or range fighter, which is our archer. Our Druid, Cleric, and then Mage. And this is kind of my default setting for when they're over here. They're easy to click on. I know where they're at. Mage is at the bottom, Cleric is next caster, and so on. So let's go ahead and journey onward. We're going to go ahead and skip the cinematic screen introduction and jump right into this. There we go. Alright, and if you notice, our big meat shield here with the Dwarven ancestry has 0 mana whatsoever. Now, when we rolled him, he only had like 4, but then his birth feat took some of that away from him. But he starts with a big honking hammer, 43 to 188. He's going to be out front bashing things. Monks, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove that staff. I'm going to do him as unarmed or hand-to-hand combat. Of course, a little starting bow there. Let's see here, our Druid, Cleric, he has some boots. And then our Mage. So we're just going to run with this team. I'm going to quickly run through Chapter 2, or Chapter 1, get into Chapter 2 to where we're paralleling what we did with our default playthrough. And then as we progress through, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Chapter 2 guilds with these guys. So each little guild has their own little video, know how to do the quest and get those taken care of. So if you guys enjoy this, go ahead and give a like and share. And of course, support the Dungeons of Chaos community. Kickstarter is still going through September. Minimum donation is $1. If you want Chapter 3 to roll out, please go ahead and support that. And we'll see you next time in Chapter 2 with continuation of our playthrough.